Hi. The conflict between Ukraine and Russia has been simmering for a long time, but the fact that President Putin sent troops to attack the capital of Ukraine was a very surprising thing to outsiders. However, that is still nothing compared to what happened on February 27, when the president of Russia ordered the military to put nuclear combat forces into special combat mode. So is a nuclear war, which the whole world fears about to happen, or does it mean something else? Let's try to analyze it together. First of all, what does it mean to put nuclear forces on special combat mission mode? Actually, no one knows exactly what this particular regime is except Mr. Putin and the Russian military. Why is that? Then the answer is inherently nuclear-armed countries like the US have always placed their intercontinental ballistic missiles on the ground at a high combat readiness, and military experts believe that Russia has always done the same. So if it's already in a high combat readiness state, and now it's back to a special combat state, does it make any difference? Will the Russian army be so prepared that it only takes one more button to plant seeds for giant mushrooms? Currently, Putin's warning can be understood in two ways. The first is that Putin is just scaring Ukraine and the Western countries that are supporting Ukraine in the war, or the second is that Russia is ready for a full-fledged nuclear war. So which hypothesis is more appropriate? Let's look back together. Russia has pulled troops into Ukraine. Militarily, Russia is much stronger, but Ukraine is being funded by NATO countries. Most recently, Germany has broken its rule that it does not send weapons directly to any country at war, nor does it allow countries that buy German weapons to transfer to a country at war. However, Germany broke the law and financed weapons to Ukraine, and allowed the Netherlands and Estonia to send weapons to Ukraine. Germany also cancelled the gas pipeline worth up to $11 billion with Russia, so it can be seen that Germany openly opposed Russia in the Ukraine war. And in addition to Germany, NATO countries are also supporting Ukraine in terms of military, financial and medical assistance, which means that the war between Russia and Ukraine will still last because Ukraine is being supported a lot. This seems to be going a bit too far from Russia's original fast-hit, quick-win goal. Moreover, Russia is also facing economic sanctions from the West, most recently banning transactions in the SWIFT international payment system. All of this caused a serious economic crisis in Russia, while the prolonged war also increased the cost of war, loss of lives and property. President Putin will have to face pressure from the people, even if Russia won, but with great damage, it won't make any sense. In short, the war will have to end as soon as possible. The longer it lasts, the more people suffer. Based on the above circumstances, President Putin's warning about nuclear weapons is likely just to bring the countries into the negotiation and peace again. This way, all sides will benefit. The Ukrainian people will be able to go home, Russian soldiers will not have to die on the battlefield, the Russian economy will not collapse, and the world will not fall into an energy crisis. What about the hypothesis with a nuclear war? The probability of it happening is extremely low. The first is that last year Russian President Putin and US President Joe Biden issued a statement at the Geneva summit arguing that the threat of nuclear war is just a relic of the Cold War. Simply put, nuclear war will disappear in the future. Secondly, the war in Ukraine is not so complicated and heavy that it has to use such weapons of mass destruction. Russia is much stronger than Ukraine. It is not difficult to win, but using nuclear weapons sounds a bit wasteful. The third is that Russia is not the only one that has nuclear weapons. Now 8, or if you include Israel, there are 9 countries with nuclear weapons. The US military alone also disarms nuclear weapons at many military bases in Europe. Therefore, if nuclear weapons are used to attack other countries, many giant mushrooms will grow in Russia, and then in the end, because of a not-so-big problem, the whole world will be destroyed. Whether the world suffers or not, I don't know, but the Russian people will certainly suffer. It's not like in 1945, when the US dropped bombs on Japan, then the world had only the US to have nuclear bombs, but if Japan had it at that time, I'm sure America would have dared to do so. In short, the possibility of Mr. Putin creating a nuclear war is extremely low, almost zero, and the mention of nuclear weapons is only to create an advantage and force countries into a negotiation to end war, bring peace. What is your opinion? Let's discuss in the comment section. Thank you for watching the video. Goodbye and see you again.